My rap audience is probably watching this right now thinking, what the hell is this? Guys, what you fail to realize is we need some more diversity in here. All right, I've been looking at the stats. The men to women ratio is disgusting. It makes me sick to my stomach. We need more female representation here. That's why today we're talking about the one and only Taylor Swift. And before this begins, if any of you want to skip the tutorial and just get the vocal preset, you can get it by clicking the first link in the description. It comes with everything that's shown in this tutorial, and it's all stock plugins. So again, first link in the description, download it now. But anyway, we're in the lab right now, and Taylor Swift is relatively easy to mix, at least her style of music, because she's a very like clean, sort of sanitized pop music and whatever. Really, there isn't that much that you have to do. The good thing about her is like she already has a good voice by herself, so she doesn't really need any extra effects to sound a certain way. We'll get started with the essentials. So first of all, the one thing that isn't a stock plugin is this plugin called 𝐬𝐢, which I already mentioned in the last tutorial. I discovered this pretty recently, and it's honestly amazing. It is this like AI powered voice separator. It removes all the ambience and all the background noise in your recording, because obviously a lot of you guys are probably in like pretty scuffed recording environments, so there's probably a lot of like white noise, or the computer heating up is making a noise, is sort of humming a bit, and you kind of want to remove that, and this removes it completely in my opinion. Like if you listen, if you compare how it is now with this, there's just like a world of difference in my opinion. There's just no ambience. Even though I have this over here, I do sort of recommend, instead of having it in the mixing channel, I would recommend putting it in like a separate channel, the one where you would be recording your vocals and then putting it onto this one, because it really takes a toll on the CPU of your computer and it makes everything go really slow. I mean, just look at this, right? My computer is like pretty old, so I get why it's like this a little bit, but I mean, this almost never happens with me. But I just think this plugin requires a lot of energy. I think it's better to have it as like the recording instead of putting it here where it's going to like permanently slow down and lag your computer. Then I have some pitcher. Even though Taylor Swift sings really well, she most likely, just like every other singer, uses like Melodyne or some manual tuning plugin to improve a little bit like the vocal performance. Like maybe she sang everything perfectly except like this one part, and she wants to like tweak it slightly in order to make it sound good like everything else. However, in our case, we're going to be using the more standard auto tune, but I wouldn't go crazy on the pitcher. Like you can see over here, the faster it is, the more obvious the auto tune effect sounds. So this would be like a Quavo, Lil Uzi sort of level for auto tune, whereas slow is just like you can barely notice it. I put it in between medium and slow because you want to make it sound as realistic as possible. You want to make it sound as organic and natural as possible. So I definitely wouldn't add too much auto tune on this. And then to make sure the whole vocal spectrum gets affected by this, I crank the minimum to the bottom to the lowest possible one, which is 25 hertz. So 25 hertz and up is going to be affected with the pitcher. And if you don't know what I'm talking about hertz, we'll get to that in a second with the EQ. But anyway, so the next thing we have over here is the compressor, the limiter. This time I'm using a compressor, and I did a couple things. So first of all, the threshold, I have it to negative 21, 22 decibels. Crank the ratio all the way down. I wanted to make it as flat as possible, and you can see just how much is being removed from this compressor and just how flat everything is, which is what I want, what most pop artists do. Then I crank the gain, 9 decibels to sort of make up for the lost volume from the compression. And the second thing I did over here is the noise gate. So this adds another level of removal of white noise and background noise. So basically anything under, as you can see over here, negative 38 decibels, everything under that just gets completely removed when you lower the gain to 0. And this is just like I said, an extra level of protection to remove ambient noise in your recording. And next we have over here the Fruity Parametric EQ. I really didn't do much. Main thing I did, remove all the sub bass by going to right click, high pass, and then steep 8. So basically all of the sub bass gone, all the muddy frequencies from the lower range is gone. Then I added a low shelf over here to not emphasize so much the bass and the low mid, and you can do that by right clicking here, type low shelf, and then just dragging it to how you want it. I kept this pretty plain. And then over here at around like the 11,000 hertz area. I just cranked it all the way up. All these frequencies help you get your vocals to like the front of the song, you know? In order to be like the main presence in the song, you need to sort of find a good balance between being like the main presence in the song and having a very annoying radio effect, which would happen if you like move this all the way up here. This would definitely sound unnatural and just weird, and I don't think anyone wants that. Then really quickly, I went to Maximus for a de-esser, so I just went to preset de-esser split band, and this will remove the really sharp pss sounds that sometimes happen when you're using words that have the letter S in them. Second to last one, this is very interesting. This is the reverb, and essentially, while I want some reverb because I want it to sort of cushion the really harsh vocals, I made sure to make them as buried as possible. You can barely notice often that Taylor Swift has reverb, and an untrained ear would probably think in a lot of songs that it's dry, but really there is just a tiny smidge of reverb to cushion the blow, and this can be solved by having the wet level at 20%. I think this is a good balance between just enough reverb where it helps cushion you, but not enough where it's super noticeable. We're not trying to have like a Tame Impala sort of reverb effect on our vocals. And a very important thing that I think everyone should do is have a sort of delay on the reverb. In this case, I had it like based on tempo, so basically a 1:0 ratio, because or else if you just have it all the way down like this, it really just kind of sounds muddy. It makes the vocal sound really muddy. You want like a slight bit, like milliseconds of distance between the dry vocal and the reverb in order to just make your vocal sound as clear as possible. So the last final thing I did was just to remove a bit again the lower frequencies, and I did a bit of sweeping because oftentimes there's like a very muddy presence in the low mids, and what I did to check around to see where it was is I would toggle around this little thing, which essentially differentiates like how big the band width is. So this is like the smallest it can be. This is like just super high, so I put it as small as possible, and I would like play around while talking and looking at the frequencies like really high up, and wherever I noticed it sounded really muddy and ugly, I would stop and then over here lower down until I find the perfect balance between not too thin but also removing the frequencies that I want to remove. And once you're done, that's basically it. You would get a final result like this. So don't be surprised at how similar my vocals are to T Swifty over here. So let's check it out.
I was a girl and you were a guy. What do I do without you? What do I do without you?
And the song is spitting. What are you doing without this vocal preset, which you can cop right now? First link in the description or the pinned comment. But anyway, boys, girls, this has been the video for today. If this has been helpful, subscribe for more tutorials like this and leave a like to show that it helped. And I'm done.